Hello everybody and welcome back to another video all about the League of Dracula. Apologies there hasn't been one of these sort of like roundup videos recently. They've just been very busy with real life things, but not to worry, all good. And yeah, bringing a little video here to summarize everything that's been happening in the second stage of the League of Dracula, and then a little preview of the final league that is going to start in just over a week's time, so very exciting. Some of you might have noticed that there haven't been many VOD, like VOD, videos on my channel about the League of Dracula recently, and that's because just the times I've been mostly been free have been at weekends, so I've been doing them as live streams instead. So if you go into the live section on my channel, you'll find all the live streams that I've done, and there's also in the description of this video you'll find a playlist to all the videos of League of Dracula from me and all the other content creators, and if it's a live, doesn't matter if it's a VOD or a live stream, it will be in there, so you'll be able to catch up on everything. Anywho, so on the screen you can see the league tables for the second stage, and the players who are at the top of the tables in green, Met King and JB Philly, they're the ones who are progressing to the final league, so congratulations to them. Very, very well played. There's some very epic matches, as you'd expect. We had some amazing games in the first stage, so we had no doubts that the second stage would be any different. Very close, of course, only having 6 games in the second stage, and knowing the fact that you're against, other players who finished second or third in their respective groups. It was all very, very impressive stuff all around. So, firstly, congratulations to the 8 players who were here for qualifying for the second stage in the first place. But yeah, big congratulations to Met King and JB Philly for making it through. We'll talk about them a little bit later on. But the main thing I'll say, just in general, is kind of in sort of my roundup videos from the first stage, I was saying how the quite a lot of the newcomers were doing very, very well, and this proves it even more so that out of these 8 players who made it into the second stage, Met King and JB Philly were the newcomers to the tournament setup, and they're the 2 who made it through. So yeah, all the seeds and experienced players have fallen by the wayside. I don't know, various reasons. It might just be, the fact that newcomers have been coming in, they have been playing extremely well. I don't want to take anything away from them, but maybe the experienced players maybe a little bit out of practice, or there's some things with it. The meta's been shifting slightly that maybe they're not used to. I'm not sure. But just in general, the quality of play in the tournament has just been fantastic all round. Yeah, clearly there's not as much room for mistakes now as there used to be. It's fantastic to watch. As an outsider, I can't criticize because I'm not even competing. So I very well, if I was competing in this, I may very well have been also eliminated at this stage or even before. So no criticism to any of the players who were experienced and were taking part. They've all done extremely well, all conducted themselves brilliantly, and some fantastic games throughout. So yeah. I don't know what else to really talk about, to be honest. I mean, Group 1, the 2 groups were quite different from each other. You can see in Group 2, JB Philly ran away with it, 6 wins out of 6. That's very impressive stuff when you also look at, the 3 players who he beat. The amount of experience they have between them. I'd probably argue that those 3 are probably 3 of the oldest members of the community in terms of the amount of time they've been in here. They're all in the community way before I started. So he has a lot of experience that JB Philly's been able to beat there. Group 1 was a little bit different. There was actually a point, if Randolph had beaten Met King in the final game, they all would have ended up on 3 wins and 3 losses, which shows how close that group was. But Met King just, getting that extra win, but also the IDS, very impressive as well. Met King's wins were very impressive, and then his losses were not so great. So he was able to pick up a very decent IDS there. Very, very good. So yeah, we'll move on. I don't know what I was ready to say, apart from if you go back and watch the games, you'll see sort of things. At the moment, I've just had so many things going on with watching lots of games, and there are games that I've missed, but also just lots of stuff happening in, my outside of Fury of Dracula. I don't really know what to comment on at the moment, but apart from that, yeah, it was all very impressive. I just want to show you this. These are the stats. So from the first stage, we've been collecting the Hunter and Dracula wins throughout the tournament. After the first stage, it was more or less 50-50 There's only one game difference between that 50% win rate for both. In the second stage, slight lead for Hunters, but again, in each, and the groups are so small, or much smaller than the groups for the first stage. They're only one away in each group. Are only one away from that pure 50-50. Group 1, though, the group that had Met King and Werecraft and Mr. Green and Randiv, for a long time, actually, Hunters had quite a big lead in this. It was only in the last week, I think out of the 4 matches in the final week, 3 of them were Dracula wins, so that really sort of pulled it back. But you can see, look at look at this, like, despite, maybe Hunters having a little bit of an edge here, the influence was quite high, around 8.5, maybe not quite as high as some of the ones in here. But still, but then look at the final HP values, very low. These games were incredibly close. There were some big wins though, that's the thing, like, I think Met King won a couple of games with, like, full influence or full health, which is pretty impressive. So maybe then it's just the way it all averages out. I don't know how much we can read into these average values, but especially it was only 12 games. It'd be interesting to see it across the whole tournament. So yeah, at the moment, after 104 games, we've got a 6-game winning lead for the Hunters. We'll see how that goes in the final league. In the final league, there are 30 more matches, so slightly bigger than the second stage, but we'll see how it all works out. So just keep me up to date on that. I think after the tournament, I'll be able to sit down properly and actually try and work out what is actually happening with all these trends and things. Just at the moment, it's just I'm in the thick of it in terms of, like, seeing all the matches and recording and whatever. It'll be afterwards be able to take a step back and really think about what have we learned from this tournament. But win rate's still very, very close between the two factions, which is great to see. So what I can maybe do now is just quickly, give you a little preview. Here are the 6 players who are going to be in the final league. Apologies for it being bright yellow. It's just I couldn't find a colour that would contrast nicely with the green background, so that's why it's in bright yellow. These are the 6 players who are going to be in the final league. And yet, the main thing I said before, with the seeded players and the experienced players not doing so well, out of these 6 players, Pizza Wizard, who's the Group B winner, is the only one who has competed in Fury of Dracula tournaments before. So that just really goes to show, the quality of the newcomers who are coming in, and they've just taken it all by storm. I mean, Captain Gyro, I'm calling him a newcomer, but it's a little bit disingenuous because he has been around since the previous League of Dracula. It's the first time he's competed, and Rakajic's been playing thousands of games since he joined a few months ago. But in terms of, like, tournament gameplay, anyway. So yeah, we're going to go through. I mean, you can see, especially the 4 group winners, when it says Group A, B, C, D, that's from the first stage. Because remember, out of those in the first stage, from each group of 5 players, the top player just automatically progressed. So those 4 players, Captain Gyro, Pizza Wizard, Edward Scissorhands, and Rakajic, they've just had the last sort of 3 weeks off. They haven't done anything. They didn't have to compete in the second stage. But it was to give people an incentive to try and finish first, that there was an advantage to finishing first. They didn't have to go through all the stress of the second stage. Between them, very impressive win rates. Pizza Wizard was the only one to win all 8 of his matches. Captain Gyro's only loss was on Dracula, whereas with Edward Scissorhands and Rakajic, their only defeats came on Hunters. So, out of those 4 group winners, 3 of them won all their Dracula games, which is kind of unusual. We normally expect, the way that we keep thinking about it, is that Hunters are the stronger faction, especially at higher levels. So it would be interesting to see if those 3 are able to maintain that sort of Dracula performance going into the final league now. It'll be very interesting to see how that all holds out. IDS especially between Captain Gyro, Pizza Wizard, Edward Scissorhands, all very, very similar. Rakajic has, even though despite the defeat, very big IDS. So Rakajic is very dominant in his matches. The ones that he won quite a lot of them very convincingly. But then the one defeat was maybe was very narrow. I think it was only like 2 or 3 IDS, I think. So yeah, just why he didn't lose much IDS for that defeat. But yeah, all very impressive stuff all round. For the other 2, Met King and JV Philly, I've got 2 sets of win rates here. So number 1's from the first stage, number 2's from the second stage. Met King got through 5 and 3. Well, both of them were 5 and 3 after the first stage. Very impressive. Very similar IDS. Philly maybe could have challenged for the top. Lost a double header against Fangs of Fire, which kind of put him out of contention for top spot. But still, JB Philly was the only one to beat Edward Scissorhands in the group. So we're going to see if Philly can repeat that in the final league or not. So there'll be a rematch there. Obviously, JB Philly incredibly impressive, 6-0 in the second stage, given the amount of experience that he beat. But also Met King. I mean, yeah, the Met King's win rates you can see are not as good as maybe Philly or the others, but Met King's shown a lot of resilience in this league so far, and there have been quite a few games where, especially at Hunters, things weren't going in his favor. Newspaper reports were being very shy, but showed a lot of I'm going to say, I'll repeat the word resilience again, to be able, and that attrition, to be able to get back into games and not lose hope. So definitely can't count out Met King at all. There's going to be no easy games in this final league. And also the thing is, like, we're seeing them all in the context of all their win rates in the context of their first stage groups or their second stage groups. But quite a lot of these players have never played against each other before. I mean, yeah, Edward Scissorhands and JB Philly were in the same group. Met King and Pizza Wizard were in the same group. But have Wakajic and Pizza Wizard ever played each other? I don't think so. If they have, maybe only once. Philly was going to be yesterday, hasn't played against Pizza Wizard, or maybe has, a long time ago. I don't think Edward Scissorhands has played Pizza Wizard either. Gyro, it's quite funny, before the tournament started, Gyro was very, very keen to have matches against Wakajic, so clearly there's a bit of a rivalry going on there. Clearly there's some old scores to settle, but they haven't played against each other much, I don't think. So it's not like in the previous league when, so who were the 8 players in the final league? There was me, Warecraft, Roscoe, Mr. Green, Bugsby, Pizza Wizard, Quincy, and Pirate Joe. So with the exceptions of Bugsby, because Bugsby only joined for the tournament and then it just disappeared into the void. Hopefully Bugsby comes back someday. He's a very good player. And Pizza Wizard, because Pizza Wizard was probably the newest member of the community when we had the League of Dracula last year. But the other 6 of us, we'd played against each other a lot, because especially when I joined the community, there weren't as many players. So all of my games, especially in the beginning, were against Mr. Green and Roscoe, and when Warecraft was the one who taught me how to play Hunters. And then I played a lot against Pirate Joe because he was around. I didn't play a lot against Quincy, but Quincy was about, and Quincy and Pirate Joe used to play a lot of games against each other. Roscoe and Mr. Green and Quincy and Pirate Joe were like the 4, OGs at the beginning. Maybe about 6 months or a year before I joined, they were the ones who were playing most regularly in the community. So they played a lot against each other. So we knew a lot about each other in terms of we'd played before. We had rivalries. I was really familiar with playing with Mr. Green and Roscoe and so on. Whereas these 6 players, there's a lot of unknown quantities in terms of them playing against each other, which is going to be really fascinating to see how that all pans out. Who's going to win? I don't know. I mean, should I be making predictions? I mean, all 6 of them have done incredibly well to get to this point. I was saying it to Philly yesterday, because Philly was like, as long as I don't finish last. I was like, well, even if you do finish last, you're not really finishing last. You are the top 6 players in the community. And you've done so much to prove to get to that point. So there is no doubting anyone's ability here. So they're all fantastic. And obviously if there's another, League of Dracula then next year, then these players would get, preferential seeding for the first stage and all that sort of stuff. So there's, they've done very well to get to this point. I don't know who's going to win. I mean, there's an interesting thing too that I was talking to Philly about, and also Met King a little bit. Because the 4 group winners from the first stage, they've had 3 weeks off, and then we're going to have a week break until the final league starts. So they're going to be off for a month. Now, I know Wakajic's been playing a little bit, but maybe hasn't had much availability for playing. Gyro's maybe played a couple of matches, but as far as I've seen in the Discord, maybe I'm wrong, but as far as I can tell, Edward Scissorhands and Pizza Wizard haven't played at all since they won their first stage. So the question is, are they going to be out of practice, right? They haven't been playing for 3 or 4 weeks. Are they going to be out of practice, even if they've been watching the games and things? Whereas Met King and JB Philly, they've had to go through 6 really tough games in the second stage, but then there's going to be that balancing act, right? Are they going to suffer from burnout earlier because they've had to play 6 more matches than the others? Or because they've had to play those 6 matches in the second stage where there's a lot of even more intensity than the first stage, are they going to be more mentally prepared for the final league? I don't know. is the answer to that question. I don't know how it's all going to pan out. It's going to be very interesting. It's something that we'll discover afterwards, once everything, the dust is settled. We'll be able to talk to the players and understand, how they cope with the final league. And this is the first time we've done it this way. In the league last year, we had the first stage, and then the players who qualified, from that just went into the second stage. There was none of this like second stage and some people bypassing it and so on. So it'd be interesting to see how the players make of it after the fact, and if they want to keep this format, how they felt about it, all that sort of thing. So it'll be very interesting. I mean, for me, if I was competing here, the one I'd fear the most out of this lot would be Rakajic. But again, that's the one. He's the player I've got the most experience with playing. He is a devilish Dracula player to be up against, and is able then to take a lot of that mentality into playing Hunters as well. And you can just see, the IDS is just a little bit more superior, and some of the way he played against, Quincy, who is a very experienced Hunter player, and then Warecraft, who I would say would have been before the tournament, him and Mr. Green would have been my favorites to win, and especially out of the old guard, just because of their experience and just their skill level. So the way he was able to play against them, I think he has to be just that little bit in the driving seat, but not to take anything away from any of the others. This is going to be incredibly close. And if it came down to IDS again to separate them, I would not be surprised. It's going to be fascinating stuff. And it might just be the margin of victories which will make the difference. You might get a couple who might break away from the pack, similar to how me and Warecraft did it last time. But then it just comes down to IDS who gets the slightly bigger margin of victory. As I said before, it's going to be interesting with, Rakajic and Pizza Wizard and Scissorhands. They won all of their Dracula games, and Rakajic and Scissorhands anyway, lost on Hunters in the group. Will they be able to replicate that? Because normally at a higher level we say that Hunters have the advantage. So are they going to be able to keep up that? Is the win rate going to swing back towards Hunter favor now? Or are some of the other players are they going to find it really tough to play against Rakajic on Dracula or Edward Scissorhands on Dracula? It's going to be fascinating stuff to see it all unfold. And the thing's like, it's 10 matches, they're all playing each other twice. It's only 5 weeks. 5 weeks will go by very fast, and I think if you get off to a bad start, then that's going to really hurt later on. Same with similar to the second stage. But still, there's a little bit of, you've got a little bit of, if you lose your first two, you've still got time to claw it back, of course. But, yeah, you don't want to be starting on the back foot, so to speak. You want to try and at least get, 1-1 in the first week, and then try and kick on from there. I'm just fascinated to see the entire thing, how it's all going to work out. It's going to be very impressive. So yeah, we'll have to see. I don't know until the matches kick off and we see how everyone starts playing against each other. But as I said, there's lots of matchups I've never seen before. So as a commentator, I can't go into going, oh yeah, I'm going to assume this. No, nope, I've never seen Pizza Wizard and Rakajic play against each other. I've never seen Met King and Gyro play against each other. So there's going to be a lot of, it's going to be fascinating stuff. And seeing also then those rivalries from the first stage, Pizza Wizard and Met King have to play against each other again. Pizza Wizard did the double over Met King. Can Met King get revenge? Same with, Scissorhands and JB Philly. They were 1-1 against each other. They both beat each other as Dracula. So then is it going to swing the opposite way? Are they going to both win their Hunter games against each other? Lots of stuff going on. It's very exciting. I can't offer much more insight than that until everything kicks off. We'll have to see how it all goes. Hopefully everybody's ready for it. It's going to be so exciting. I thought I'd just give you this, just a little bit of a teaser. These are going to be the fixtures for the first week. So if there are 5 weeks in total, these are the first matches. You'll notice that because of the way the fixtures get generated, you cannot guarantee one Hunter game and one Dracula game for each player per week. So, for example, Philly has to play 2 Hunter games this week. In the first week, Met King has to play 2 Dracula games, but then obviously then later on, then that gets reversed. That Met King will have a double Hunter week, and JB Philly will have a double Dracula week. It's just the way it goes with the fixtures. There's not much we can do about it. So yeah, it is what it is. But obviously, players can organize their fixtures however they want within each week, or there might be having, with availability, people might have to switch me around. But out of these, which one am I most looking forward to? I mean, all of them are going to be amazing, but come on, Rakajic and Edward Scissorhands is going to be an amazing watch. That is going to be probably the highlight of the week, especially the fact that you've got here 2 Europeans and 4 Americans as well. There's another dynamic I didn't talk about with the time difference and stuff. If American players are trying to play sort of mid-afternoon, which is probably the earliest point they'll be able to play, unless it's at the weekend, obviously. If it's during the week, if they're the earliest they can play is mid-afternoon, it's getting sort of towards nighttime, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock for European players. So then it was interesting. Philly was talking about that with me. Do the Americans therefore have a little bit of an advantage because of that? Will the European two, are they going to try to maybe ask for more weekend matches to try to then eliminate? They can play it sort of morning American time, afternoon European time. So it's just not it's then maybe not going to be as fatigued. It all depends on individual schedules and things. The American players will start playing against each other probably whenever they can. So that's the problem for me. If a lot of Americans are playing against each other, unless they're playing at the weekend, the chance of me being able to commentate is very unlikely. But fortunately, we've got Met King who's recording. Hopefully, Captain Gyro will record his matches as well. Who else? Strider 656 might be able to stream, depending on availability. So yeah, we've got quite a lot of that covered. But yeah, if I can catch the European players playing, that'll be great. And this one I'm really looking forward to. I haven't seen a lot of Edward Scissorhands during the competition, especially since we've had 3 weeks off now. He hasn't been playing, and I can't remember how many matches of his I recorded in the first stage. Maybe only a couple. But I think just because of whoever he was playing against, or circumstances that happened during the match, maybe I don't remember seeing him full power or having at full stretch. So it'll be very interesting to see how it all pans out. This is a very exciting game to kick off with. Obviously, they might play their other matches first. This is not an order. They don't have to play. Wakajic and Edward don't have to play against each other before their other matches. But still, to have this sort of match in the first week is just amazing. But all the games are going to be very impressive. And yep, it'll be interesting now when the players see this. Are they going to start eyeing up and going, all right, okay, this is a match I can maybe target. We'll try and get the win here. We'll have to see. But it's so exciting. There's going to be so much going on. So yeah, but keep an eye out on the channel, keep an eye out on the playlist, go and subscribe to Met King and Strider and Captain Gyro, Quincy as well. Hopefully if Quincy can do a little bit of recording or streaming too, that'd be amazing. Yeah, it's just going to be, there's going to be so much going on, and it's only 5 weeks, so it'll be over in a blink of an eye, but there's just going to be amazing games, and we'll see. The question also too is, how many games do you think, feel free to put predictions in the comments, how many games do you think they're going to have to win in order to win the whole league? So last time it was a final league of 14 matches. The league was bigger. We had 8 players rather than 6. So I can't remember. Warcraft and I won 10 of our 14, I think, if I remember rightly. So if that's the case, how many out of 10 do we think these players are going to have to win in order to win the whole league? What would be the minimum? I mean, sure, you never know. We might get somebody going 10-0, but that's going to be incredibly impressive against this caliber of players. How many? What could be the minimum to win? Is 7 going to be enough? Is 6 going to be enough? I don't. Well, it depends how close it is. If it's 6. Then that's going to definitely come down to IDS if that's the case. If it's 7, are we going to have only one player getting 7 wins? Possibly. If anybody manages to get 8 wins out of 10, then if someone gets 8 wins out of 10 and they still don't win the whole thing, that's highly unfortunate. I think if you're getting 80% win rate against this caliber of players, that's that's extremely impressive. We'll have to see. We'll have to wait and see. Just to let people know, in case so the way it works, if there's a tie on number of wins, it's accumulated IDS. IDS is our our tiebreaker. Think of it as like if you think of football or soccer, you've got the number of wins or the number of points, and then it comes down to goal difference, the number of goals that you scored minus the goals that you conceded, and that's the difference. And then whichever team has the highest goal difference is going to be ahead if you're tied on points. Same thing works with this, right? If you're tied on number of wins, then you look at accumulated IDS. So it's the amount of influence you obtained as Dracula minus the amount of damage that Dracula suffered. It's accumulated across all 10 matches. And so whoever has the highest will go ahead. If it's somehow tied on IDS and number of wins, then it will go down to head-to-head record. And if it's then a tie between head-to-head record, then you look at head-to-head IDS to make the difference. So actually, in this table that I showed you here, there's actually an error. Technically, Werecraft should be above Mr. Green because I checked their head-to-head record, and Werecraft, Mr. Green beat Werecraft with 9 IDS, but then Werecraft then beat Mr. Green in the reverse match with 12 IDS. So technically, Werecraft would be above Mr. Green here, but when the tables got generated, we didn't take that into account because obviously it doesn't affect who qualifies. It would only be if someone dropped out. But even then, Quincy would be ahead because he's got 17 IDS here. So yeah, it's going to be very exciting. I think I'm going to make the prediction that the winning player is going to have 7 wins. Which is probably not a very bold prediction, but never mind. At the beginning of the tournament, I said, there'll probably be one newcomer making it into the final league. Well, only one seeded player made it through in the end, so I should be braver with my predictions. But no, just congratulations to all 6. It's going to be a very exciting end of the tournament, and can't wait to show you some of the games. It's going to be a fantastic watch, and yeah, we'll see what other exciting stuff's been. We've had quite a lot going on this tournament already. Vienna has kind of become the MVP Wolfform location this tournament, which has been quite interesting. What else? We've seen quite a lot of Dracula cards being used, and normally, we normally consider things like Swiftness and Emmanuel Hirschied and Darkness Returns being the strongest cards. But we've had some shenanigans with Nocturnal Visit and Roadblock and Enraged, which is not normally considered very strong cards, but they've been able to make them work. What else have we had? JB Philly does like a little bit of, some dogs sometimes if they arise at the right time. Yeah, definitely making use of that. And yeah, just general shifts in meta. We had quite a lot of people using Dark Call. I don't know if these 6 players that we're looking at would fall into that category or not, but there's definitely a lot of Dark Call being used. So maybe we've also seen some things in the second stage where Dracula was not misdirecting his starting location for quite a while into the first week, and then maybe might misdirect later when Newspaper's about to trigger or Jonathan Harker, or maybe saving misdirect for later. So it's going to be, very interesting. Just very, not like groundbreaking changes in the meta, but like little subtle shifts here and there. And also like Dracula players just being a little bit more aggressive, really taking it to the hunters and not letting them do what they want to do. Which is kind of the way I always said, you have to disrupt the hunters. But I think certain players have taken it to a brand new level in terms of trying to disrupt what the hunters are doing. So yeah, all very impressive stuff, and I can't wait to be able to commentate and show you some of the matches. It's going to be fantastic. I don't know how long this video has been going on for, but I'm going to stop. So yeah, I don't know if I've brought a lot of insight, but if I've been able to highlight these players to you, then that's just all I wanted to do, really. But yeah, thank you also to everybody else who took part in the competition, the 14 players who have been eliminated. It's been, these tournaments wouldn't work without people sacrificing their time and putting in lots of energy into the game. So if there's anybody who, you competed in the tournament, but you didn't make it through to the final league, it doesn't matter. You've even really impressed me with the way you've been playing and organizing things, so thank you very much. It wouldn't work otherwise. And thank you everybody for watching, and I shall see you in another video very, very soon. There'll be probably a week or so where there's not a lot of content, but I'll have some Wingspan for you. Yeah, prepare yourselves. Next week, 6th of November onwards, you'll see some videos from the final league. So take care, everybody. Thanks for watching. See you later. Bye-bye.